Quite simply, we train and we staff. Captain Falkenthal continues, and I quote, "No mandate will ever take the place of intelligent decisions made by competent, well-trained, and experienced fireground personnel acting appropriately based on the most accurate information available at the time." In other words, safety is an outgrowth, a byproduct, if you will, of sound fireground tactics employed by sufficient numbers of well-trained firefighters supervised by competent chief officers. Now, while we'll get back to the training issue later, let's look at staffing. Fire company staffing in this country is a disgrace. Consider this small career department in Upper New York State. Each engine company is staffed with a driver and a captain. Imagine taking 2 promotional examinations, tough exams, and passing them just to be the nozzle man. Yet that's the street reality for an awful lot of fire departments in this country. It may literally take 3, 4, even 5 companies from this department to arrive before they can legally comply with 2 in, 2 out. It is so grossly understaffed, it relies on its ambulance personnel to make up a rapid intervention team. Way back in the fiscally strapped 1970s, fire departments everywhere bit the bullet. We were team players. We took the hits to keep our community solvent. Although firehouses were closed and large numbers of firefighter positions were lost to attrition, the politicians promised us that when the better times came, we would get our people back, that our firehouses would reopen. We even made ourselves more productive by diversifying to ensure it would happen. Well, the better times are here. We are in the 107th or 108th month of the largest, longest economic expansion in our nation's history. But I don't see the staffing coming back, do you? We are continually doing more with less, and firefighter safety is the ultimate loser. And are we really fighting to get our staffing back? One fire chief claims his department was under tremendous pressure from City Hall to cut costs. He decimated the training division, closed companies, laid off 50 firefighters. He then turned around and returned $1 million in unused budget monies to the city coffers. Now, I always thought growing up that the fire chief was supposed to be on our side. It certainly betrays the trust of the firefighters that this chief is supposed to protect. And another favorite subject of mine, customer service. According to some, the fire service desperately needs lessons in how to treat our customers. We used to call them victims because victims don't have a choice. Customers do. But regardless, we are selling ourselves short when we say we need customer service training. The fire service may be the only organization, public or private, that still actually practices customer service. The United States has become, its economy and as a nation, a service-oriented one. But we know virtually nothing about good service. And I'm sure you could each come up here on the stage and tell the audience a tale or two about poor service. We have fast food workers who can't make change, bank tellers who can't count, store clerks who view the customer as the enemy. And if you call just about any private business or government agency on the phone to register a complaint or simply to ask a question, all you get is the runaround from either an impersonal computer, an incompetent person, or both. But consider the fire service, consider us. We have been setting things right for decades. Day or night, rain or shine, pull the box or pick up the phone, and we will come and solve your problem. And we do it courteously and professionally. And there's another issue closely related to customer service, total quality management, or TQM. I'm sure you've all heard it. Has your organization required its members to attend TQM training? I'm sure some of you can say yes to that. But I don't believe a handful or more of people in this country actually know what TQM is. Total quality management is a system for controlling industrial production processes using advanced statistical techniques. The father of quality management is generally considered to be a gentleman by the name of W. Edwards Deming. In the wake of World War II, Japan enlisted the help of Deming to rebuild its shattered economy. The rest, as they say, is history. So in recent years, many soft businesses, as well as a large segment of the public sector, have adopted Deming-like philosophies. TQM has become the buzz for everyone from real estate agents to firefighters. But is this really TQM? Or is it perhaps a scam foisted upon us by some savvy entrepreneurs? I believe it is, because what I know about TQM training, at least in the public sector, is that it boils down to say please, say thank you, and answer the phone within 3 rings. Hopefully, we all learn the importance of saying please and thank you in kindergarten. So why don't we spend more time practicing how to stretch hand lines and force doors, which ultimately will serve our most important customers, the victims of uncontrolled fire, much better. And what about our cart before the horse training philosophies? Why do we train rookie firefighters to bail out windows before we teach them to properly stretch a line and put out a room of fire? Certainly learning how to survive emergencies on the fire ground is very important and was all but neglected on the national level until Battalion Chief John Salka developed his Get Out Alive training program. And Captain Mike Lombardo of the Buffalo, New York Fire Department deserves mention. He won last year's FDIC Training Achievement Award. Because of his efforts in training firefighters in Buffalo and surrounding departments in self-rescue techniques. Well, I'm fortunate to be able to call each of these dynamic fire service leaders my friends. And I know they never intended Get Out Alive to eclipse basic firefighter training. And last year in his keynote address, Bob Pressler mentioned the fire department with young, aggressive firefighters. Each firefighter carried webbing and carabiners in his turnout coat pockets in order to be able to rescue and remove a trapped firefighter. But if you or I somehow got trapped or lost at a fire in this particular community, although these firefighters could rescue you, if they found you, they probably would never find you because nobody ever taught them how to search a smoke-filled area properly. Again, the cart is before the horse. We must put the cart back behind the horse and train realistically and frequently in basic firefighting procedures. Back to basics must never become just another hollow cliche. And as we told our students at the hot classes on Monday and Tuesday, right here is the greatest anti-bailout the nozzle tool that exists. Put the fire out, and your brother and sister firefighters will never be caught in that position, or at least the chances will be greatly reduced. And closely allied with our skewed training agenda is our love affair with gimmicks and the belief that technology offers the solution to all our problems on the fire ground. The introduction of hydraulic tools for forcible entry is but one example. While these tools are certainly helpful, have we become overly dependent upon them? How many firefighters in your department can still force a door with an axe and a Halligan? Or just a Halligan? And in a smoke-filled hallway without visibility? And consider a more recent development, thermal imaging technology. Fire departments everywhere have purchased thermal imaging devices or have had them donated. This is great. But my friend Stephen Woodworth, a lieutenant from the Atlanta Fire Department and a recognized expert on thermal imaging on the fire ground, he points out that thermal imaging technology is not the be-all and end-all. It is simply a tool to help firefighters perform their basic mission of searching smoke-filled areas for fire and for victims. It is not meant to replace sound search procedures and other time-tested fireground tactics. One firefighter, dressed in a state-of-the-art personal protective clothing, was using a thermal imager at a training fire. transfixed by the images viewed through the camera and isolated from the heat buildup due to his turnout clothing and hood, he suddenly saw everything in his view screen turn white. Flashover. This firefighter is lucky to be alive. And while thermal imaging and advanced turnout gear have made our job safer and easier, at the same time, they have also made it more complex and introduced new dangers that we should be aware of. And given the hostile nature of the fireground, technology must never take the place of sound judgment formed by good training and hands-on experience. In a nutshell, technology isn't and should never become a substitute for common sense. Well, now that I've identified a variety of problems, I'm obligated to at least propose some tentative solutions. And first and foremost, as a group, we must collectively admit that firefighting is an inherently dangerous occupation, and there's not much we will ever be able to do about that. It is manual labor performed under the most dangerous and uncomfortable conditions known to man. Firefighter injuries and deaths will continue to occur, and anyone who is so naive as to believe otherwise lives in a fantasy land. As Bill Manning noted in the editorially brilliant white cover issue, this is what a perfectly safe firefighting operation looks like. To achieve zero firefighter deaths and injuries, you must have zero firefighters on the fireground. Second, we must realize our limitations. The now classic book, In Search of Excellence, by Thomas Peters and Robert Waterman, is subtitled Lessons from America's Best-Run Companies. Chapter 10 is titled Stick to the Knitting. And in it, the authors point out that any organization that strays too far from its core strengths, that over-diversifies, so to speak, is doomed to failure. We cannot, as a fire service, continue to take on new tasks and responsibilities without paying a price. And that price, unfortunately, is a diluted ability to function at fires. We have truly become jacks of all trades, masters of none. We believed that diversity was key to survival. All it has really done for us is ensure mediocrity in our performance at fires. And what about diversity and staffing levels? Has embracing EMS and other services improved our staffing? Has service diversity ensured that you respond to every call with 4 or 5 personnel on an apparatus? Is the fireground, in your experience, any safer? The demands placed on our time by our diverse missions mean less time learning how to fight fires and getting to know the buildings we fight them in. We must reevaluate our priorities. Third, training itself must be refocused. It is a disgrace that fewer and fewer fire departments are able to participate in live fire training due to environmental concerns and restrictive standards that are often unrealistic and misguided. But our field of battle is unforgiving. We must train like we fight. Class A burn buildings, acquired structures. At the New York State Academy of Fire Science, recruit firefighters get to practice fire attack in a smoke building with sheetrock walls and furnished rooms. Highly realistic. And at the Rockland County Fire Training Center in New York, our flashover unit has exposed thousands of firefighters to flashover warning signs and given them a better understanding of fire development and the limitations of their personal protective clothing. The hot sessions here at FDIC, particularly live fire, engine company operations, search, truck company operations, allow firefighters to operate in real buildings under realistic conditions. As has been said, more sweat in training, less blood in battle. Let's restore realistic live fire